This is Louis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and William Hill. I'm delighted today to be joined with Mr. Harlem Eubank. Feeling a bit happy today with a Brighton win, but we'll let the rivalries get aside. How are you, mate? How
Yeah,
you doing?
we're on a good run. Yeah, I'm very well, thanks, mate. Deep in preparation for my fight on 31st, so yeah, in a good place and ready to put in a performance.
Absolutely. You said you're deep into camp. I know it's a typical cliche question that everyone ever asks in the interviews, but how has sort of camp been for you? How has this sort of been different to any other one, really, if it has?
It's been good. It's not much difference in the day-to-day application of what I'm doing, but definitely a lot of progression and what I feel like is a lot of breakthroughs. Since the Christmas period, training back in the gym to obviously my first fight end of this month. So I feel like there's been a lot of progression, although the application has been consistently similar. Um, yeah, a lot of things that have clicked and a lot of things that I can put into play on fight night.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. How would you say like your camp? Do you feel like as the competition gets harder, as you step up more, like this is another 10 rounder for you? Would you say like from when you first started, like turned over pro, the work's got harder, or it's more of the same stuff?
Uh, I think it's more of the same stuff. The challenges come, but you develop as a fighter. So I'm a better fighter now than I was when I started, which means the competition's harder, um, but the skills that I've amassed have allowed me to overcome them challenges. So the challenges definitely get harder, and the training intensity gets more structured. Um, but yeah, I think the developments that I've made as a fighter make me able to overcome them challenges and meet them head on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I always think of guys like Mayweather, who, he was consistently working hard, from even when he was the Olympics, like it was something that was taught into him for day one. No matter if it was a 6 rounder, 8 rounder, 10 rounder, 12 rounder, he'd always had that same sort of graph. And you feel like that's what it is. Whereas as where you get to more like the top level and the 10, 10, 12 rounders, a lot of it is more on sort of drills and stuff like that and sort of like game plans.
Yeah, I think the mentality is the same. I think if you're used to working hard from the start, which I've had to be starting boxing at only 18, I've had to apply myself and make sure I'm one of the hardest working in the room. Um, so I've had that mindset from the offset. I think it's just as the challenges come and opposition gets tougher and you're going into bigger fights, it's just the structure that changes around that and maintaining that mindset that you started with, um, and not getting distracted by other things that come with um, the success you're achieving. So I think that I'm in a good position, very focused, and all that's on my mind is overcoming this challenge on the 31st and continuing to develop as a fighter.
Absolutely. And I always see on your social media, you're always posting about like nutritional facts and everything like that. Like, it's very helpful for me as well. But how much would you say like when you're going to camp, how important would you say your nutrition is? Like just not even in camp, but out of camp as well. You see a lot of fighters that they'll get big outside of camp and this and that. But for you, I don't see that sort of stuff. Like for you, it's important, like all year round, you're staying healthy. And for the benefit of a fighter and longevity, how do you feel like that?
Mm.
How important is that?
I think it's massive you know, to fuel your body in the right way, especially when you're going into extreme sports like boxing, where you're putting everything in, you're exhausting your body to the limit, in training and in fights. Um, I think it's essential to be putting back in the right stuff to rebuild, the cells and the muscles and the whole system to rebuild that after each session, so you can continue to go at that intensity. Nutrition's I'm big on it, and it's um it's a big thing for me. I've been plant based for 8 years now, so I've always paid attention to what I'm putting in and the reason for that. And yeah, it's a big thing to fuel the body in the right way to perform. So I'm a big advocate for that.
Absolutely. And like, do you think about like even like when you're like outside, like once you know your professional career is over, you're still
Yeah,
having like you're still reaping the rewards and still being as healthy as you can, you know, when you be like 40, 45, 50.
yeah, 100%. I think it's a lifestyle, and I think if you don't live that type of lifestyle in a sport like boxing, I think it definitely shortens your career and your ability to box for longer. Um, as I say, I started at 18, so um, I plan to continue for longer, and I think that the way I eat and the way I fuel my body, I think that's going to allow me to have that longevity in the sport. And I think, yeah, past boxing, I think that I'll definitely be, applying that even more so and zoning in on that, the nutrition and healthy lifestyle um, stuff even more so. So I think that it's definitely a lifestyle rather than, um, just something short term.
Absolutely, absolutely. Moving on. 2022 was a successful year for you in the ring. You know, you had a lot of good wins and some nice knockouts as well. Moving on to 2023, we start on March the 31st. How important do you feel like this year is going to be for you in terms of keeping active? And, you know, this year you could really push for potentially a British title.
Yeah, I think this year is going to be massive. Last year, like you said, I had some good wins against good level fighters, and I think any which one of them fights I had last year could have been title fights based on the level of opposition. This year, I think I'm going to build on that further, and again, I've got good opposition already lined up. A guy that's already beat prospects comes with that dangerous Mexican um, tag attached to him, and this year I'm going to build on that and fight more good opposition and hopefully aim for a big fight at the end of the year. I feel like I'm ready for it, and this year is going to build me up to that point where I'll be ready for anyone in the division.
Absolutely. You know, you look at sort of 140 and domestically, it's a Shark Tank of division. When you look at a potential of a British title fight, you know, is that what you're sort of aiming for at the end of the year? Because obviously we're not too sure what Dalton Smith might be doing. You know, he wants to win it outright, but there's not too long. We're not too sure how long we'll hold on to that belt for. So, is there a possibility for you, you know, even if it's Dalton Smith or if the belt becomes vacant, you'll suit yourself right in that seat for the title?
Yeah, I think I'm ready for that type of opposition. We we like the look of that fight, and I think whether it's a British title or not, I think that these are the type of fights that we want to make. These are the type of fights that get the boxing public excited, and I think that's what it's about as well as titles. We want I want both. I want to fight for titles, and I want to fight the best in the division as well. That's what it's about. That's what I'm training every day for, and that's where my progression is leading to, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, because like when you look at a division from the world level right down to sort of a domestic level, you've got guys like Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall, you know, I just said Dalton Smith yourself, you know, overall, you know, you see that division is so stacked, and for you to be a part of that, that's such healthy competition for that only can
Yeah,
push
yeah,
you to
yeah,
work harder, you know.
yeah. That's what we need. These are the type of fights that motivate us, um, the fights that get us excited as well as the boxing public. This is this is what makes for a great era of boxing, I think, where the fighters are around in a stacked division that are willing to fight each other. I think that's we're already seeing that with Garcia Javonta. That's
Yeah,
what got all of us excited. We all want to see that fight. That's
yeah,
because it's two of the top guys, um, and anything can happen, and that's what's exciting.
yeah.
So I think that's these type of fights keep us motivated, and the fact that we've got so many good fighters in the division. Um, yeah, I'm happy to be a part of that, and I'm looking forward to facing off against these guys in the near future.
You just mentioned Tank versus Garcia. I've got to ask you, what do you sort of who you predicting for the fight?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. I think. Gervonta's the obvious choice. I
Yeah,
think Garcia just poses the that unexpected speed power threat. Um, especially with the left hook. I think that's a dangerous shot if it lands on anyone. But I think that in terms of boxing IQ, experience, and performances thus far, I just think Gervonta knows his way around the ring too much for Garcia at this point. But there's still that unexpected kind of speed, shock the world threat that Garcia poses,
yeah.
and that's what makes the fight interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing I didn't realize was the size. Like Tank, like when they face off against each other, I was like, "Gosh, he's a lot taller than him. He's a lot taller than him."
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Gervonta's faced a lot of people that are taller than him before.
yeah,
He's
true.
Barrios,
Barrios, yeah, I was about to say
um,
Santa
Rolly,
Cruz.
like they're
Yeah,
all bigger than him. Um, but yeah, it's his IQ that's kind of overcome them type of challenges in the past. So yeah, it's a great fight for us boxing fans.
absolutely. Your gym at the moment is thriving. It's someone I wanted to talk about. You have Josh Kelly who's got the British title, Mick who's it's not been confirmed, but there's the rumors that he's going to
Yeah,
be fighting for a world title. Yourself pushing onto a big year. Talk to me about that. I know there's other people as well, but that trio of you three that are really,
yeah,
really pushing must be a real good atmosphere at the gym at the moment.
yeah. It's great. We all push each other. It's a great environment in the gym, and I think you know I feel like a lot of places don't have that. A lot of gyms don't have that, and we all want each other to win and to achieve in the sport. Um, and like you say, we've got like Mick, Josh, me, um, and other fighters as well. Sam Antwi,
Yeah,
Abbas Barao. Um, so we've got a great squad. Kurt Walker. We've got we've got a great group of lads that all want to see each other win. We all go to each other's fight to spur on each other and to feel that environment and will each other on. That's something I don't see in a lot of places, and I think something that's overlooked in something that can be overlooked. But I think it's such a necessary component in an environment where you've got such talent. Um, you know, pushing each other every day to become better fighters, and something I'm grateful for.
I was going to say, must have been good being involved in a Mayweather fight as well with Aaron Chalmers. That must have been something special, man.
Yeah, Aaron pulled that one out as well. Yeah, it's a lot of special nights, a lot of memorable nights around each other, at these fights, and that's kind of it's experience in the bank, and you don't even know it. Being involved in
Yeah,
these type of world title uh, fight nights, seeing the preparation that goes into that, and it's experience that's unrivaled, I think, and it will definitely come into play, when I have the opportunity to take them type of shots.
absolutely. I saw you had a photo of Mayweather. Did you say much to him? Did he get to say much to you? Was there much of a convo?
A little bit. I just said, that I respect everything he's done in the sport, and he recognized one of Mick Conlan's fights, and he had kind of like a personal conversation with Mick to say that he's on the right path, like, and that he'll get that title back. So to see that, and to even get a kind of life size image of him
Yeah,
in my head, because I stood next to him, and he's not too dissimilar in height or stature to me, and it's kind of like after watching someone on TV, you think, they're
yeah,
they've done all this, but they're a superhero, and it's it's authentic to actually just and motivational to get a life size image where it's like this can be done. This guy's not too dissimilar to me, and look at all he's achieved. So it's motivational to think, um, with the right application, what can be done, and to see him perform some of his skills live was, yeah, it was it was crazy.
Absolutely. I think Mick put a tweet out, or someone put a tweet out, I read it, and it was like he was like Mick was like surprised that Mayweather had like sort of watched his fight or watched him.
Yeah,
Like Mick, like obviously you were like Mick as well. You're at like a decent level in terms of being well known, but it shows that the level that Mayweather's at, where even Mick's like surprised about that sort of stuff.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's a completely different. Like, it's the height of the sport. It's
Mm.
one of the greatest fighters ever, and this is a guy that will study, or will we've been watching his fights, staying up till
Yeah.
4 a.m. For years watching his fights. So I mixed the same. So for him, it's like a idol moment. Not even that you realize the guy's your idol until one sec. Is it
That's
still?
fine. Yeah, so you're good.
Can you still see me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can still see you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, just a call came through, so the
That's
screen
right.
messed up. Um, yeah, so it's one of them moments where Mick became a, a money team fan, a money team member overnight, and yeah, nice. We're all fans of the sport, so it's like, yeah, you don't realize what type of influence and impact that can have, that someone like Mayweather has told him he's watched one of his fights, and that he liked it, and that you see a champion in him. So them moments are priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked about Mick and Josh, obviously in your gym, but obviously, you've got your cousin Chris Eubank Jr. Having him as an influence as well. You're someone that's got a lot of good people around you, and that's obviously having Chris as well must be very special for you.
Definitely, I get, like you say, I've got a lot of people that I can draw to for advice, for inspiration, and yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have that directly around me, and I definitely have that in the guys that I've got in my gym. As well as having Chris Jr. And my uncle as well. It's a wealth of um, experience. Right within touching distance, that I can reach out to and speak to at any time. So it's yeah, I'm grateful for that.
When you go watch Chris Jr. fight, do you find it sort of do you get nervous a lot, I'd imagine?
Yeah, you get more nervous with your friends and family than you do when you're
Yeah,
actually fighting yourself,
100%.
because the outcome's out of your control. So
Hmm.
you get the same fight nerves, but you can't do anything about it. And that's
Yeah.
the thing with your friends and family. So you definitely experience that whole build up with them in that way.
Absolutely, he's got a big fight coming up, potentially with Liam Smith. How important do you feel like this fight is for him to sort of right the wrongs of what happened in January?
I think it's massive for his career, and what direction he'll go. Um, yeah, I think it's massive. So I think he'll focus all his attention on putting in a career best performance in the rematch. And I think this rematch is very different to the first fight in the sense that the danger is very real to him, and yeah, he knows he needs to apply himself to the best of his ability to overcome this challenge, and make them wrongs right, and flip the odds. He's the underdog now, so I think he'll thrive in that position.
Absolutely, you think look at someone like Chris, yeah, coming with all the 60% stuff like the KFC. Is that ever something you can see? We can't see you adapting the KFC, mate. So you're gonna have something different.
Yeah, that's definitely not me. That's me and Chris differ in them type of ways. But I'm sure even when he came in with the KFC jacket to the presser, I was like, no, I can't even get any pictures with him today,
uh,
standing next to no KFC. So,
yeah,
so yeah, it's part of his personality and mind games, I think. But again, in the rematch, I think he needs less of that. He
Yeah.
needs full fight focus, and I think he'll have that. I think in the last few fights, he's carried the promotions well and put a lot of energy into doing that. But yeah, I think this second one, it's all about the fight, and I think he'll have that focus and that mentality in his head for this one.
Absolutely. Just to finish off, and I know it's sort of a bit of a difficult question to ask, but because it's quite a touchy topic with obviously Eubank Jr. and that as well. But obviously the topic of Conor Benn is something that's always going to come up with with Eubank and Chris Eubank Jr. And all these sorts of stuff. So I wanted to ask you, he obviously came out with the interview with Piers Morgan, and I asked the same question to Calla and Mick, and um, isn't it? It's crazy. I feel like that it's 6, 7 months, 8 months down the line since the fight fell out, and every single month it's still been the topic of conversation for something like that. Do you find that sort of a crazy thing, or is it a good thing that we're still talking about this stuff, or is it time? Did you feel like sometimes it might be time to move on?
Um, I think the topic of drugs in boxing
Yeah,
is massive because of the effect that it can have on someone's life being in the ring. You're going into the ring, putting your life on the line. So I think that it's important that the focus is on keeping the sport clean. I think that's very important. I think that Chris and Connor it engaged so many of the public, that these two are matching off against each other, that all that attention obviously diverted to why the fight didn't go ahead, and that was because of the positive drugs test. So I think it's natural, that happened, that the focus was and has been on it for so long because of the scale of and the magnitude of the fight. Um, and it's like the saying, with great power comes great responsibility. The more
yeah,
attention that is on something, the more responsible you are to show a good example to the people coming up behind you. I think that's
mm,
very, very true. So I think that's why it warrants so much attention. But at the same time, you know, it is boring to see over and over again. And
yeah.
um, but it's important that um, you know the right decision is made and that innocence is proven. So in terms of attention being on it for that reason, I think it's definitely warranted.
Do you feel like it's because, like you said, it's boring that it's coming up time and time again? But do you feel like the reason for that is because we still haven't had any real valid answers? Even the answers that we have got, we still the public still aren't happy with it, and I'm sure like Chris Jr. still ain't happy with it as well.
I don't think there is any answers. Like, I think that became evident on the
Mm,
Piers Morgan thing. I don't think any answers have come about. The WBC have cleared on the basis of eggs or something, but
yeah,
um, yeah, I mean, I think even Connor denies the egg thing. So it's like there are no, there have been no clear, there is no clear evidence presented, as publicly. Um, so I think that's the reason that it's still, a talking topic. But like I say, it's been going on for a while. It's boring at the same time, but it's important, um, for the sport that these things become transparent rather than, um, yeah, rather than no one having any answers. I think it's important for the sport that these type of things are resolved. So I hope it gets to that stage.
absolutely. Well, Harlem, we'll move on to a more positive note. It's been good to chat to you, mate. I just wanted to wish you all the best for um for March the 31st. I appreciate your time, man.
Thank you very much, man. Nice speaking to you.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. Thank you. Cheers.
Spot on, bro.